First things first, our top story, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1, Celtics versus Jimmy Butler. Butler showed up last night in a big way. 27 of his game-high 41 came in the second half, 17 in the third quarter alone, where the Celtics, by the way, shot just 2 for 15. FS1 NBA analyst Ric Bucher joining the conversation now. Good morning, Rick. But, Nick, let me start with you.
Good morning.
What do you think Butler proved last night?
Oh, Rick, I think he proved there is a playoff Jimmy in the sports world, but it's not Jimmy Garoppolo, it's Jimmy Butler. And here's the thing, Rick.
Hello.
We are quick to acknowledge that there are guys who are all-world regular season players, and in the playoffs get a little bit worse, or a lot of bit worse. Karl Malone got a little worse come the playoffs. His regular season resume is basically unimpeachable. James Harden, his regular season resume is as good as just about anybody. He gets a lot of bit worse in the postseason. We are hesitant to acknowledge the opposite might also be true. Drew mentioned this name earlier. I want to use it. We did it with Rondo. We were like, hey, playoff Rondo, that's a thing. But that was almost more, that was a compliment and an insult. Because it wasn't like Rondo, at the latter part of his career, was some very good regular season player that then became great. He went from a bad player in the regular season to very useful in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler's unique. He is very good in the regular season. And then, with the Heat at least, has been a superstar in the postseason. He has 5 40-point games in the last 6 years. They've all come in the playoffs. If you care about game score on Basketball Reference, his 7 best games over the last 4 years have all come in the playoffs. This guy is a very good player that you're like, okay, he's not one of the very best, though. And then the playoffs, it's like he goes toe-to-toe with everybody. And so, to me, that's what he proved. And he absolutely has a chance to be the best player in this series. And last night, he obviously was the best player on the court.
Ooh. Okay. I can go a certain degree with you on that. What he proved is, one, that if you're looking to fill the seat vacated by Chris Paul as one of the toughest high basketball IQ team leaders in the game, you would be well served to put Jimmy Butler in that, especially with if we're anointing him or we're giving credit for having the best mid-range scoring game in the league. Jimmy Butler takes that spot as well. But and I would say that he also deserves a potential spot in Nick Wright's club superstar. I don't know where you had Chris Paul or Devin Booker last I checked as far as getting through the velvet
Booker not
rope,
in,
but
Chris Paul was in. Chris Paul might have to go.
Okay.
I know. You're right.
So I'm giving Jimmy Butler that sit. He's not going out on the dance floor and doing splits. He's not coming in a mink fur.
Splits.
He's not popping all the bobbles. But Jimmy Butler is just going to come in and demonstrate how you lead a team in important games. But he also proved how important Marcus Smart is to the Boston Celtics and to a certain extent Al Horford. And that the toughness of the Boston Celtics and any questions about whether Marcus Smart deserved Defensive Player of the Year as the defensive leader of the Boston Celtics last night demonstrated why all of that was true. You can find other guys who are better, maybe individual defenders, but you're not going to find anybody who delivers the attitude that Marcus Smart does that infuses the entire Boston Celtics team. They're not winning this series with Peyton Pritchard and Derek Wright serving as the point guard and as the spearhead of that defense. So there's 2 things here. One, I'm elevating Jimmy Butler past Chris Paul at this stage, and I'm also acknowledging that the Boston Celtics are not winning this series without Marcus Smart.
Look, that's a great point because you saw that they were hunting Peyton Pritchard. Right? They were getting him in every screen, pick that they could so they could get Butler or someone else going against Pritchard. And that's obviously not happening with Marcus Smart on the floor. And I thought, to your point, Rick, that the Celtics, the Heat did to the Celtics what the Celtics did to the Nets. Like, their toughness really made Boston look like they were unhinged. And that's what they did to Brooklyn. I don't think that'll continue through the series, but certainly that happened last night. And Jimmy Butler was the ringleader of that. Eric Spoelstra said before the series began, this was going to be a throwback series, meaning we're going back to the 90s, early 2000s. It's going to be physical. And Jimmy Butler was the epitome of that, not only defensively, but offensively as well, in that he goes out and scores 41 points with no three-pointers. None. He was 0 for 2 from 3. To be able to do that in today's NBA is almost incredible. So you got to give him props for that. And, Rick, I would say this as well. Butler sunned the Celtics last night. S-O-N. And this has been a theme he's been doing throughout these playoffs. Atlanta, the Trae Young, the hot young superstar, suns him. Philadelphia, Harden's just, obviously faded, but his buddy Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey was hot. He sunned them. And then last night, Jason Tatum is all the rage, and Jimmy Butler gets the best of him. These playoffs, Wilds, we've seen like almost a changing of the guard. Not totally, but almost. LeBron is out. KD is out. Chris Paul was booted unceremoniously from the tournament. And Jimmy Butler, at least in the East, you got Steph and the Warriors in the West. But in the East, Jimmy Butler is kind of carrying that torch for the previous generation of guys. And last night, he got the best of the young boys and said, not yet, young fellas, not yet.
A couple of generations, though, Broussard, all those two-pointers. Get out there in a pair of Puma Clydes. You're going to shoot that many two-pointers. Well, talking about my dad is going to, that's why I like to do it. Oh, mid-range. All right, we got to say this plainly. Jason Tatum lost the game. Jimmy Butler played great. The Heat played great. Jason Tatum's performance in the third quarter is what turned this game from a Celtics halftime lead to a Celtics deficit and cost them the game. And I said it on social media, people are like, oh, Wild, you were rooting for the Celtics. How could you do this? Here's the thing. You only get mad at the valedictorian when they get a B-. If their student is a B- guy and they get a B-, say congratulations. But if it's a valedictorian getting a B-, yeah, you're allowed to light up the valedictorian. Jason Tatum is supposed to be a superstar. He deserves superstar criticism. That's what comes with superstar territory. And if you have, Nick, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 6 turnovers in the third quarter and lose the game, then yeah, you deserve to be criticized. And people are saying, well, it's that Heat defense. Oh my goodness. Man, some of this was Heat defense. Some of this was just not paying attention. I'm not used to handling the ball this much. Where's Marcus Smart? Maybe Marcus can come up here for a little while and dribble the ball, because I keep on giving it away to the point that I'm now just going to tackle Victor Oladipo. So I'm sorry. I support Jason Tatum, which is why I'm criticizing him. If you're going to set the record for turnovers in a quarter, it's not all Heat defense. This is on Jason Tatum, Nick. I got to be hard.
No,
Club
and
superstar serves Lobos and criticism, my friend.
That's fair, Wives. That's good.
It's totally fair, and it was, if the Celtics had won this game with no Smart and no Horford on the Heat's home court, it was going to be very difficult to see how the Heat were going to turn this thing around. I know it was just game 1, but it would have been a devastating loss for Miami, and the Celtics were in full control, and then Miami executed as perfect of a half quarter of defense. That first 6 minutes of the third quarter was utter Pat Riley, Alonzo Mourning, Eric Spoelstra, Heat culture, defensive perfection. And it reminded me of Jimmy Butler after Game 5 of the previous series when he said, he was asked on the court about their game plan. He was like, we cannot focus on making shots. All that matters is how we play defensively. We focus on that, we'll win. The shots will come, and this team truly believes it. And the other thing Wild's got right is the idea that to whom much is, given, much is expected. For instance, if Broussard 3 times in the same rant had called valedictorians, I'd have been disappointed in him. But Wilds is here to be the eye candy,
What'd I
not
say?
to be the sharpest tool in the shed. So I'm not even mad at him about it. Like, it's okay. Like, that's a mistake Wilds can make. Drew can't make
Did you
that
say
type of clear
valedictorian,
error.
Wilds?
Oh, I'm not eye candy.
what I
Nick.
said.
I'm not eye candy.
I may just
I
not
roll
know
the
the
default,
word.
I guess.
Honestly.